There was a time when the British were running the largest drug trade in the world and it was completely legal. Sort of. 200 years ago, India was famous for producing the world's highest quality opium, and China had become their biggest customer. The British had just gained control of a huge part of eastern India and they realized they were sitting on a gold mine. So here's what they did. They forced Indian farmers to take loans from them and demanded them to grow opium instead of food crops. If a farmer refused the loan, they'd literally throw a bag of silver through their window and claim that they accepted the loan. After the farmers harvested the raw opium, it would be taken to giant factories in the city where it was boiled and processed into dry balls that were packed in boxes and shipped off to Bombay and Calcutta. At its height, the opium department of the East India Company was employing over 2,500 Indian clerks and many more factory workers. But here's the funny part. Because drugs were illegal in Britain, the East India Company couldn't technically sell the opium internationally. So they just auctioned the opium to merchants in Calcutta who did the actual dirty work of transporting the opium on ships to China. But because opium was also illegal in China, local smugglers would take the opium and transport it deep into China's interior through a network of rivers and canals. But don't worry, they didn't have to be too careful. Chinese officials were incredibly corrupt, and all it took was a few bribes to allow them to sell the drugs with zero consequences. In those days, opium could literally be found everywhere in China, at an inn by the highway, at the local market, even at Buddhist temples. Smugglers would even carry opium through the mountains to take it to far off destinations. In today's money, this would easily be a multi-billion dollar industry, becoming British India's second largest source of revenue. But it was also driving more than 13 million Chinese into severe opium addiction and would even lead to a full-blown war. To know the full story of how Britain became the world's richest country from drug trafficking, watch my full video on the Opium Wars.